So guys, let's start with our example for shortest job first. It is a non-preemptive algorithm and it has a corresponding preemptive type as well, which is called as shortest remaining time first. So we'll be doing the non-preemptive type first. Now, reordering the job so as to run the shortest job first, what is the advantage of that? So it improves the average response time and minimizes the average wait time because ready queue is maintained in order of the increasing job lengths. So when a job comes in, this algorithm inserts it in the ready queue based on its length. So this minimizes the average wait time because it gives service to less execution time processes before it gives services to large execution time processes. So while it minimizes average wait time, it may punish processes with high execution time. So let's see why. If a shorter execution time process are already in ready list, then processes with large service times tend to be left in the ready list while small processes receive service. So it may happen in extreme case that always short execution time processes will be served and large execution time processes will wait indefinitely. This starvation of longer execution time processes is the limitation of this algorithm. So it has its own advantage and disadvantage. Let's start with this first example where we have 5 processes and each of them has its own arrival time and burst times. So as the name suggests, we'll be scheduling the process with shortest job time first. So now at time 0, P1 has arrived. No other process has arrived anyway. So even if its burst time is 8 units, we'll be scheduling that one first. Now note that this is a non-preemptive algorithm, so processes P2, P3, P4 and P5 have all arrived before P1 has even finished its execution because their arrival time is 1, 2, 3 and 4 respectively. But they did not take over P1. Why? Because this is non-preemptive. Later in the next video we will be doing the preemptive SJF algorithm and there we will see that these processes will take over this one process. So this is how we schedule the first process first and it will take 8 units of time. That is why I have written 8 in the finish column. Now, can you guess which one will go second? See, P2, P3, P4, P5 are all arrived. So now it's the question of which job will take the shortest time. So it's 1, 3, 2, 6. So 1. So P2 will be going next. P2 took one amount of time, so it finished at 9 and I wrote 9 in the finish column. So now we are done with P1 and P2. So the remaining processes left are 3, 4 and 5 with times 3, 2 and 6. So the shortest one is time 2 which is process 4. So we'll schedule P4 next. Notice that P2 and P4 also did not give up the CPU because once they are allocated to the CPU they won't leave it until they finish their execution. So now we are done with P1, P2, P4. We are left with P3 and P5. Shortest job is with time 3 which is P3. So next we will be scheduling P3. P3 finished its job in time units 3 and now we are only left with P5 which has 6 minutes and we will be scheduling that to finish our NAT chart. So our fifth process took 6 amounts of time and it finishes at unit time 20. So I have written 20 in the finish time. Now we'll be using the two formulas of turnaround time and waiting time to calculate the turnaround and waiting time for each process and then we'll calculate the average times for them. So I have calculated TAT and WT using these formulas that we derived in the earlier video. So first process takes 8 minus 0, 8 units because 8 is its finish time and 0 is the arrival time. Similarly, I calculated a turnaround time for all the processes and the average turned out to be 10.4. Waiting time, the formula is finish minus burst time minus arrival. So 8 minus 0 is 0 and similarly we have the waiting time for all the processes and the average turned out to be 6.4. This finishes our SJF example and in the next video we'll see if the preemptive SJF reduces the average turnaround and waiting times or increases them.